Now, I have a very special guest on my show because I normally don't talk about stage productions on Movie Metropolis, but in this case, I am. And I'm going to be talking about a theatre play by Shane Palmer called You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy. And it's my great pleasure to have on my show writer, producer, and actor for You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy, Shane Palmer. Shane, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you, Peter. Very happy to be here.
Good to talk to you. Now, this sounds like a really interesting play about mateship, about a footy club, about masculinity, a whole range of issues. What was the inspiration behind you writing this play?
I recently got back from the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in 2019. It's just pre-COVID. I'd taken a one-man show over there that was followed a young guy who went from Australia to the Western Front of France in World War One. Sort of very sort of deep in the kind of heaviness of that, which was a great experience. And then got back and sort of sat having a cup of coffee in Brunswick and thought, what would happen if Donald Trump took over a suburban footy club sort of around here somewhere? And then it slowly grew and flew from there.
Okay, so tell me about writing the actual play because football is such an institution, especially in Victoria, and also the idea of what happens behind the scenes. So tell me about the actual writing process for you.
So yeah, I started writing it obviously pre-COVID, and it was originally a two-man show that was set to go on in March 2020. And we're sort of in the full swing of rehearsals through there, and it was a lot more of uh, probably an angrier piece, if that makes sense. And then COVID hit, delays, and then tried to start it up again around, when was it? A bit after Easter this year. And got some different people on board. And then I had a look through the script and they're kind of like, oh, it might need a bit of work to it. And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah, the banter's good, but it's it probably doesn't need to be what it was, if that makes sense. So it's had a lot of heavy rewrites to have a similar story, but a much different and a much better structure, to really kind of focus on showing that world with uh without pointing a finger, I guess. Like there's a lot of problems and issues, but there's also a lot of good things that those kind of organizations through the community do for people, especially for men to find a kind of a place and a bit of a compass, whether that compass is pointing in the right direction or not. So yeah, it's been really interesting kind of going from like that very Trumpian vibe a couple of years ago to now a much more grassroots level. The story is inherently still the same, but very much just okay, the how and why of sort of power dynamics and where people get from A to B, especially if they have no experience or no particular skills, and really sort of like rooting hard into the characters and why they would want to do this in the first place.
Okay. How interesting. And and it's a 1 hour play. I've noticed that will be on from November 13th to the 18th at the Butterfly Club. Tell me about working with your director Riley Longworth and working with the two other actors, Jeremy Harland and Nathan Wright.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic experience working with all three so far. This is actually Riley's first stage play. He has a quite extensive background in film and TV. He's a graduate for the screenwriting program at VCA, has written a lot of scripts, has a lot of scripts in those kind of earlier stages of very pre-production, trying to sort of pick up funding and all sorts of different things. So there is quite a vision for this to extend it onto the screen sometime in the future, which is the kind of hope to go through there, to kind of give it more than life of just 6 shows this week. So yeah, hoping to tour next week. But sorry, let me get to your point. Really good. Riley kind of got the crux of the question of the show very early on, and very much in sync with me of what we wanted to tell and how we wanted to tell it. So I've had a really good relationship of very much pulling in the same direction, and had some really easy way of communicating the truth to each other, if that makes sense. Kind of just a few things that have popped up. It's kind of like, oh, you're sure about this? And so, no, it's because of or it's actually, no, we definitely don't need that. That was a good little point to wave the flag. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that kind of process. And then yeah, Jeremy and Nathan, both fantastic younger actors. Jeremy's about to graduate from Federation Uni. Nathan was recently in a Peridot theatre company production of Things I Know to Be True, which was a very, very heavy drama. So both of them are looking forward to kind of doing something a lot lighter, but still with a bit of a points and meaning to it.
Okay, okay. Now it's interesting when I read up about You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy. It reminded me a little bit of The Club, David Williamson's epic stage play, but that looked more at the behind the scenes management side of how a club is run. This one looks more at the dynamics of three footy players, I suppose.
Well, yes and no. So I would love to go on the record. I haven't seen The Club yet, and I've been deliberately putting it off until we've had this on stage to plead ignorance. I really want to see that Graham Kennedy kind of film. I think ours has a similar level of the backroom kind of dynamics that go on. So really wanted to sort of explore all the drama that goes on quite naturally behind the scenes at a footy club, especially not at the top level of the AFL or even the rundown, but sort of in that murky above amateur but not fully professional kind of stage where there is a lot of money that flows around, but it's easy enough to keep it under wraps for how it's actually shifted and used. And the level of the kind of hiring process, I suppose, is a lot more blurry and grey. And so you have people that can kind of nudge their way in through knowing the right people or being in the right place at the right time. And, you know, they're not going to become billionaires from running this, but there's enough of a scope for, oh, yeah, we could look after ourselves without actually doing a lot kind of thing. So, yeah, again, holding off to watch The Club. I definitely want to, but I think I'm praying it's different because, again, I've never seen it to take anything from it, but I believe a lot of, especially my parents' generation that I've mentioned this to, have said, oh, it's like The Club. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But if you're interested in that, you would probably be interested in this.
Absolutely. Well, it seems that you explore issues related to mateship and male camaraderie and sort of the way interaction works and the male world, if you like, of being part of this footy team, which I found very interesting. Marydale Tigers, as it's called. So tell me about exploring all that.
Yeah, so again, when it was originally written, it was a two-man show, and then this year, as we started to flesh it out again and give it some legs, I thought it needs to be three because I just think, especially with men, when there's a very close-knit dynamic of three people, it creates a really fascinating tensions between the three of them, and it's so great to show on stage how quickly people sort of shift and pivot within that kind of little power dynamic where one often is desperate to lead, and then the other two are kind of talking nonsense about the other one behind his back, and then it sort of rotates on its axis and it goes again. So yeah, really, really interested to kind of explore the hows and whys of, I suppose, the support network that men create amongst themselves, but also the deep insecurities of ego and the, I think that we're getting to a better place, but there's still such reluctance to actually admit what's going on, especially internally. So to explore that on stage has been, even in rehearsals, has been fantastic. And I think it's a often unexplored part of the world, and I think something that there's a lot to kind of mine and really tap into, especially in the kind of chaotic and crazy environment of a footy club where winning that cup is the be and end all of existence, basically, at least for 9, maybe even 12 months of the year.
To dream the impossible dream. Exactly.
Yes.
How very interesting, and of course you also explore the sensitivities and masculinity and other issues. Which are you pitching this more at a male audience? Are you hoping, or are you hoping also that women will see something strong in this stage play as well?
Yeah, I'm hoping both. I really liked the few things I've written are very aimed at as wide an audience as possible. And I like there to be something, if it's a little bit esoteric, people who know and love it can take something from it. And then if you know absolutely nothing about the topic, there's something you can glean as well. And sort of there's an entry into it. And I'm hoping it can kind of lift the lid a little bit on just this small sort of sample of, again, that kind of male dynamic between the three, with Stephen, Tim, and Dan, that both men and women can kind of watch it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, right, that makes sense. Or yeah, I don't know about that. Or why were they going for, because of such and such. So I'm yeah, hoping it's as wide an audience as possible. It's definitely not gatekeeping who can and can't come and watch, for sure.
Okay, how interesting. Now it's on November 13th to the 18th. I gather rehearsals are afoot, and how's that dynamic working?
Yeah, definitely in full swing. Nathan and I we did some really, really good work yesterday. And it was incredible playing with it's funny with a film background. Obviously you move the camera around so much to tell the audience exactly what they should be seeing and how they should be seeing it from, and trying to kind of apply bits of that philosophy, because it's a quite a small stage at the Butterfly Club where we're 4 meters wide by 2 meters deep. So we've got three people that basically don't fit on the stage, which is perfect for the power dynamics of the show. And then just shifting around yesterday, we had a great bit where Nathan sort of has all the power and all the size and dominates the space, and then it kind of comes crashing down without spoiling it onto the ground. So yeah, really, really flying through, which is good. And yep, we're on stage in a couple of weeks, but it's in a brilliant, brilliant space at the moment, which is probably the smoothest production I've either been in or put together. There's a severe lack of panicking at this stage. And yes, the desk I'm at is completely wooden. I'm praying. So I'm grabbing onto it with two hands after saying that.
I'm sure it will be fine. Now, I noticed that Butterfly Club is at 5 Carson Place, Melbourne. I'm just trying to locate where that is.
So you enter off Little Collins Street, and it's directly behind Maya and David Jones.
Right.
So if you're in that part of if you either come through those two, if you were coming off Burke Street, or if you're coming up from Flinders, yeah, head down Little Collins. It's in the sort of the center of that block, and you'll see this kind of grey, dark-looking alley, and there's at the very depth a Butterfly Club sign at the top, and it is one of the most incredible, eclectic, very, very Melbourne locations for a theatre venue. That honestly, the front door, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I don't know about this, and then you get upstairs and it's like, oh wow, this is incredible.
Hey, how interesting. Now, I've got a few more things to ask you, Shane, but
Yeah, sure.
before I do that, I just want to ask you, what's the best way for people to book tickets to see You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy?
The best way would be to jump on either the Butterfly Club website or just Google You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy, and it should be the top one that pops up. And then all of the ticketing online is done through Eventbrite. There should be some available on the evening for sort of walk-ins, but we do recommend, if you're keen to come and see the show, book in advance just to make sure you don't miss out.
Okay, how big a theatre is it? How many can it seat?
72 people.
Okay, okay, very
So
good.
it's probably the perfect space for a three-man show like this, that even if you're sitting at the back, you're going to get the full experience of everything. There's no bad seats in the house kind of thing, and
Right.
you'll be able to hear and know exactly what's going on.
Excellent. All right. Good to hear. Now, Shane, I'm interested in your background because you've done lots of acting on stage and screen. You're on Neighbours. What was that
Yes.
experience like?
That was incredible. I get asked about that quite a bit. It was one of the most kind of whirlwind in and out. They're so efficient, which you would completely understand after how many years they've been on the air. But to step up from doing a lot of student short films and independent bits of theatre and film where you kind of piece it all together and it's a big day and it's really good and you get this, that, and the other done. You're like, yeah, cool. And then you jump into this and it's just like, all right, there's no messing around. But they're so comfortable because they've all been there for so long and they know exactly what they want and what they're doing, that it's such a great place to work and to play around. I think I was only on set for 3, maybe 4 hours. Like, yeah, again, a whirlwind kind of morning, but yeah, had such a good time. And then even the simplicity of it, I'm absolutely blown away by, sat there in the dressing room and they've got monitors for what they're shooting throughout the morning, and sort of looking up like, oh yeah, they're in the restaurant. It's morning. Cool. It looks like as it is, like similar grey kind of day today. Turn around and then look up again. It's pitch black and they've flicked lights on. Like, how is it nighttime? Like, wait, how long have I been here for? And just, again, because everything is so perfectly set up there. It's just ready to go. But yeah, a lot of fun doing Neighbours. Very happy, very much enjoyed that. Thrilled that they're back on the air again. And Felix Benson would love to return at some stage and see what happened with that tree or a shrubbery that he was trying to buy.
Okay, very good. But also you've been involved in a number of stage productions, such as Curious Case of Jekyll and Hyde, Love's Labour's Lost, etc., and a production on stage called Clockwork Orange. I didn't know there was a stage production.
Yeah, there is. Which again, it threw me because I was a massive fan of the film as a kid, and then the stage production is a lot closer to the book, which the writer Anthony Burgess had the kind of classic, oh, the adaptation didn't do it right, as is often the case. But yeah, so we put that on when I was at La Trobe in their student theatre program at that one was on at the Northcote Town Hall, and then we took it up to Brisbane for the FAST Festival, which is a festival of Australian student theatre. Had a couple of shows at QUT there, and yeah, incredible experience. Played 3 characters in that, including Dim and Dr. Brodsky. We had a very swift couple of lessons with stage combat, which was great because the show definitely needed it. And I actually chipped a tooth in that show. I've forgotten about that. So we come out in opening night and Billy, who was playing Alex, is on stage. And it's the part where we burst in, the 3 of us droogs, from the door behind, and where we betray him, and it sends him off on his journey into the depths. And so I spin him around by grabbing his shoulder, and then I was supposed to throw... What was I supposed to throw? It was supposed to be a roundhouse punch. And sort of first night, opening night jitters, and we hadn't probably plotted it as well as we could have. I threw an uppercut instead. And so he's ready to sort of move away as if he's getting clocked in the cheek. And instead it comes from under the chin. I didn't get him hard, which is good, but clocks him there. And as he goes down, his fist flails and cracks me square in the mouth. Cracks my front tooth. I turn completely in character, spit a piece of tooth out, and we carry on with the show. And then straight away afterwards, he comes up, is you all right? I'm like, oh, you okay? But both of us was fine. There was no concussion. There was no other major damage or anything. But yeah, I've still got just a little crescent moon missing out of my front tooth from that one. But a good little memento, I think.
Isn't that incredible? What a story. It's and yes, it's you've always got to watch out. You never know what can happen when you, especially on stage. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
On your toes, yeah.
Yeah. And as an irony, I noticed you're also in a production of Loose Teeth.
Yes. You know, these things have a lovely way of kind of looping back to where they're at. Yeah, Loose Teeth was at La Mama at the courthouse there years ago now, which was a great production that my good friend Cass Yanaku put together. She's a fantastic writer, and I had a great time putting that together. That one of those ones where the cast have sort of gone onto a few different directions, and you kind of, it's great to be able to root back to that show we did ages and ages ago. But yeah,
okay,
no, another one, fantastic experience.
And speaking of footy, you were in a production called the Helendale Nude Footy Calendar.
So there is definitely no plagiarism between You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy and Hallandale. But yeah, Hallandale was it was the second run of that show by Jake Stewart, who's uh, has a very handy resume of productions that he's written and directed. I think he's just had one through Fringe um, going at the moment, and yeah, that was a really interesting experience. It's very good for the confidence when you're all but naked on stage in front of 100 odd people down at the gasworks. You do it once, and then it's sort of like, oh yeah, it's just a body, and then get a very weird, deep confidence that comes through, and you kind of forget that a lot of other people don't have that. But yeah, that was a fascinating production. Really enjoyed that. It great having played at a number of the kind of bigger venues around Melbourne, especially as I grew up in Gisborne in the country and had next to no knowledge of where all these places are. So it basically wasn't until getting on stage at places like La Mama or Gasworks and kind of being like, huh, there's a few people watching here. This place is kind of cool. And people are like, yeah, it's sort of a big deal around. I'm like, all right, great. But yeah, a great experience, that one as well.
Okay. And I noticed you're in a production that has been advertised on social media anyway, Road to Boston.
Yes, so we shot that in January 2020, obviously before the whole world shut down. And it's a joint Australian-Korean production about the first non-American winner of the Boston Marathon just after World War II. So it's a huge kind of formative moment for what is now South Korea, a really big moment of national pride. And so they shot um, around a lot of regional Victoria, the Ballarat, Geelong, Bendigo, I think a little bit out east as well. And then we had a day on Collins Street where they shut down 333 Collins and turned it into the hotel lobby. So I got to wrestle with a quite prominent K-pop star who, again, I learned afterwards is like, oh, this guy's a big deal, which was a incredible experience in who's calling the shots because it was a mostly Korean production. I reckon 60, maybe 70% of the production were all from Korea, and most did not speak English. So there were director to assistant director to production assistant to translator for notes was a fascinating little way it came down the line. And then doing a take where I played the bellhop with the star and sort of get ran through sort of as the script. So, oh yeah, cool. And then you see like conversation comes through to me. Yeah, so Shane, Star reckons it's maybe a little bit too forceful. So if we could try it a little bit different, it's like, oh wow, this guy's just completely rewritten how he wants the whole scene to go. It's like, okay, that's the guy calling the shots, then, not the director.
You've had
yeah,
such a yeah. You've had such
but I think it's coming out. Sorry.
Yeah, no. When's it coming out? Yes.
I think it's coming out finally Christmas time this year.
Okay. You've had such a diverse range of experiences. It's so interesting to hear all that.
Yeah, I've always been conscious of the joy of acting is getting to jump into 1,000 different pairs of shoes. And kind of, every kid has this dream of, oh, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an astronaut or a cowboy. And it's kind of like, I get to do all of those. Like dressing up and playing Dan Kelly for Stringy Bark, that was an independent feature, which came out a few years ago, was some of the most fun you could possibly. It's literally dressing up as a cowboy and getting to run around the Otways and in the bush, and you're completely descending back into time. Or a couple of I did a World War II short film that was a VCA graduating picture, and again, just the going back in time and the imagination you get to do and the kind of the simple play that you get to do as an actor. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Oh, excellent. And have you got any projects coming up?
What do we have coming up? Mostly consumed with this at the moment. So we're hoping to tour most of next year with this show. And planning to get to Edinburgh again with this for August next year. And then already starting to try and pencil in ways to adapt this from stage to screen, probably in about 2025.
Okay.
And then got a message from another ex-VCA mate. So he went to VCA, I didn't go to VCA. Last night, who wants to adapt the one-man show about World War One I did to screen as well. So that's something that's sort of been mooted for a couple of years, which now that we seem to be very post-COVID and in the clear to actually consistently get stuck back into things, it feels like everything's on the upswing, especially in Australia.
Excellent news. I hope it all goes well. We've been talking to Shane Palmer, who's the writer, producer, and lead actor in the theatre production You Can't Escape an Aussie Boy, November 13th to the 18th at the Butterfly Club in Melbourne. Thank you so much, Shane, for talking with me.
Oh, thank you for having me, Peter. Absolute pleasure.
Okay, all the best. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.